everybody. We're live. Just a few minutes late for the 11:30. We're actually kind of doing it at the time we're supposed to this time. It's just me today, me and my plug. But next week we'll actually have Coach Meredith on for the chat. This week is week 2. And like you've already figured out, we're talking about what type of level eater you are or your nutritional age. It's really important for you to determine where you're starting at because stop it, Brian Lenny's. If you're watching on Facebook, again, I apologize for my husband. You just totally made me lose my train of thought. Nutritional level. So it's really important for you to understand where you're starting at so you don't make too big of drastic jumps. Remember, consistency is key. That is what we're after. So we want to be consistent you can be consistent at what you can do, not what you think you should be doing right now. So it's really important to try to figure that out and be honest with yourself. You had an assignment earlier this week to try to determine that. And for the most part, the messages that I'm seeing, everybody's level 1. You know, of course, it's always a good idea or a good goal to, keep reaching further down the line. But I'm happy to see that everybody's really assessing where they're at and where they're comfortable with staying at for the time being. And level 1 is what our goal as a program for everybody to be at. So the goal is that you never go below your level 1 habits ever again in your lifetime. You will always be thinking level 1 in the mindset and in the mind frame of you're a level 1 type of person. You're never level 0. You're never set up weak person again. And so let's kind of go over those levels, level 1 and level 2, and the real difference between it. Now, you've probably gotten some videos kind of talking about that as well in your app. All that stuff is really good information to try to help you decide what you can act at. But for the most part, level 1 is you're trying to be better. You're trying to eat better quality foods. You're trying to drink more water than you do calorie beverages. You're just trying to make the smarter decision in whatever situation that you're in. Now, we've kind of broken that down specifically into plant habits and protein habits and, of course, water habits. But the real difference, and we're going to discuss that, the real difference between level 1 and level 2 is not too much, okay? So where level 1 is you're trying to be better, you're trying to eat better quality foods, doesn't matter what the combination is type of thing, you're just, eating more whole foods. A level 2 is just a step up. It's probably somebody that, well, number 1, they're already acting level 1, no problem. Like, you've got it down pat. You're always drinking your water. You're always eating plants. You know what healthy protein sources look like. It's just something that comes natural to you. Once level 1 habits get down pat and they're automatic, the jump to level 2 is going to be nothing. And honestly, majority of people naturally become level 2 without even really thinking about it, because through the process of learning level 1 habits, you develop a palate for whole foods and a taste for whole foods, but then also the habit of thinking of adding more whole foods to your plate. So you get a little bit more adventurous. You'll start adding more greens. You'll just start enjoying those type of foods more, and so it's going to feel not as daunting to add in more plant servings. And eventually, it just kind of naturally happens. But what we'll try to do here is I'll try to break down what the real difference is now as far as like protein habit and plant habit. Difference in protein habits for level 1 versus level 2 is really a level 1, you're thinking any protein source that's not fried, okay, and it's not covered in some kind of sauce, okay? So any animal protein source, it can be a plant protein source, consciously adding that to your plate, whatever it is where you're at. We get a lot of questions about peanut butter. And we've even had a few questions about peanut butter on the Facebook page, and I've kind of answered that on one from last week. Peanut butter is not a bad food. Like, I love peanut butter, and I eat peanut butter all the time. Having said that, you can, if you're a level 1 and say you want to use peanut butter as your protein source, so like a peanut butter and a piece of fruit, and that's your habit, call it a day, that's fine. What you don't want to do is to use that really calorie, fat dense protein source multiple times a day. So that's where you can get in trouble. Like, even though we don't count calories, we still want to be aware what kind of sources we are eating. And, you know, I'm not saying that you have to be super selective whenever you're level 1, but that is one where you could take a food and almost abuse it. So when it comes to peanut butter or anything that's high fat, peanut butter is more of a fat source than it would be a protein source in most instances. But for the sake of having the habit, yes, it is a pretty good, you know, snack with a plant. And as a level 1, it could serve a purpose to fill that plant habit and that protein habit. Now, if you are a level 2, peanut butter is not going to be one of your protein sources, simply because it's calorie dense and it's really high in fat. And if you're a level 2 type of eater, like I said before, you are a person that has level 1 habits down pat. You're always thinking about adding in the good. You eat whole foods and you drink water, but you're a person that exercises or starting to exercise more and has more of a body composition goal where you're lifting weights and you want to put on some muscle and, you know, shed body fat at the same time. That's when you're going to be a little bit more specific with your choices when filling the habits. And so where I mentioned peanut butter for a level 2, I would not count as your protein habit, because we want you to try to, you know, focus on those more bang for your buck, more protein in that serving than what peanut butter serving could give you. So you're going to stick with like more leaner sources like chicken, turkey, fish. You can even have steak, red meat, game meat. Just this past weekend, I had elk meat from my brother-in-law, and it tasted just like a steak, but game meat is super lean and organic whenever those hunters go after it. But it's any meat goes. It's just you probably don't want to go into the higher fat sources, so you can eat more of it, more volume, like we've talked about with plants in general as well. You can get more volume of whole foods where it fills up your stomach and it's not super calorie dense. So that's the difference between level 1 and level 2 for the protein portions. Now, the difference on level 1 and level 2 when it comes to the plant habit is a little different too. Now, if you notice, and this will continue as we move forward, the plant habit for level 1 is any plant. So if it comes from the ground, it had roots, it had leaves or something like that, like, you can eat it. Like fruit, doesn't matter. You can eat all veggies, you can eat all fruit, whatever. It doesn't matter. The habit, the goal is to get in the habit of eating more plants. So now if you were wanting to go for level 2, the main difference is really we're focusing more on greens. So you're like real deal veggies, as opposed to mixing in a ton of fruit as well. Fruit is great for you. So let me just make sure it's clear as day that everybody should eat fruit. I'm saying that if you're a level 2 and you have specific body composition goals for like performance and stuff, eating more vegetables, more greens and stuff is where we like to focus more on, where it's almost like, I think I put this in the one of the lessons, like 4-to-1 ratio. So 4 vegetables for every 1 serving of fruit is kind of like a rule of thumb when it comes to level 2. Me personally, I eat level 2 most days. But I also eat fruit every single day. Like yesterday, I think I had a banana and 2 kiwis. So I eat fruit all the time. I don't limit it really unless I'm just really wanting to, stick to, I have a certain goal in mind for, whatever event or something that has coming up, and I want to like kind of, focus in on my selections. That's the only time I would even think about limiting, what I'm eating. But other than that, it's really the main focus for level 2 is just to eat more veggies than you do fruit. And that's the main difference moving forward. You'll see in the habits, and you'll notice that level 1 is going to stay that plant habit. The portions or the serving number will probably go up, but then it just being a plant won't. Now, as far as level 2, you'll see the veggie portions go up as we move along to make it count towards your plant habit. And what I've said before, there's no right or wrong. Like, level 1 is where it's at. Majority of all of our clients stay acting level 1 for the entire challenge and have wonderful results. And like I said, you almost automatically start eating like a level 2 like in the later weeks, and it just naturally happens. So I really wouldn't stress out about whether you should be level 1 or level 2, especially right now. Just remember, focus on getting in the good and let everything else fall into place. The next thing that we kind of talked about later on this week is how you should be feeling. And you actually get like how you should be feeling after you eat meals, like how to read like your hunger cues, because no doubt you guys have been like changing out the food selections of your current meal number. You might be starting to get hungrier. And so I mentioned last week, that's when you want to add in another meal. Don't get scared of eating more whole foods, because like I said, I'll say this over and over again, you can eat more volume of whole foods and they're not as calorie dense. So no starving allowed. But just to help you understand what your hunger cues are going to be feeling like, we had a little chart, and I think it comes on Friday, and I have it written down right here. But right after your meal, you're probably going to be still feeling a little hungry. So you're not like stuffed full. Maybe if you like packed in a bunch of plants, you might be stuffed full. But really, it's going to take you about 15 to 20 minutes to feel that satisfied feeling from your meal. So if you're still hungry past outside that 30-minute window, then you may want to look at your meal. You could even take a picture of your meal and send it to your coach, and you may need to up your portion sizes. So if you're like an hour, 30 minutes, like past that 30-minute mark, you drank some water or something like that, and you're still hungry an hour after your meal, then that's a good indication that your portion sizes or the meal size that you ate maybe wasn't enough. And it could be something like you're missing one of the food groups, like maybe you didn't get enough fat in your meal, or maybe you're going low carb unintentionally. And not to get too far ahead, but we're actually going to address those type of things, like how to add healthy fats into your meal, and how to add carbs in your meal so you make sure that you're not starving hungry and you do feel satisfied. I would say that's probably one of the number one things in the beginning is teaching people how to eat more. And people are scared to put more on their plate, especially like carbs and fat. So a lot of your meals may be looking a little skimpy right now, but as we go along, we're going to be beefing them up. And it's really important to understand how your body's feeling after your meals so you can make that connection of like, oh, maybe I didn't eat enough. So just know if you're still hungry an hour after your meal, we need to reevaluate what you're eating. 2 hours after your meal, you might be a little hungry. And if it's me, I don't know if I just always feel hungry or if I'm just always thinking about food, but I can definitely eat every 2 to 3 hours. That may not be for everybody, but you don't necessarily have to eat 2 hours after your meal, but just so you understand what you're feeling like, about 2 hours, you're a little hungry, but it's nothing crazy. Like, you're gonna be fine. 3 hours after your last meal, it might be time to eat. That's when I normally am like, okay, it's about, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like super hungry, I'm probably at like a 7 or an 8. But if I go past that 3 hour mark too much longer, it's gonna get in a situation where I am hangry. So if you're 4 hours out past your meal, if you ate the appropriate portion size, you're probably like really hungry. If you find that you are not hungry and you've been eating these type of meals, those same size type of meals with the same quality type of food, and you're not hungry 3 to 4 hours, you're feeling like stuffed, or like you could go another couple of hours after, maybe you ate too much. So I hope that kind of helps a few of you determine whether you should add a meal or not, or reevaluate what you're currently building right now in your own in your personal meal plan. Remember, reach out to your coach. They can help you. That's what they're there for. They're there to give you some guidance on, hey, you may want to add a little bit of extra of this, or you may want to do this if you're feeling hungry, or if you're not feeling hungry, you may want to take this out, type of thing. They're there to help you make the plan. You just need to ask the questions. So next week we're going to get into a little bit more of the meal planning process and prepping. Like I said, Meredith is going to be on with me next week, and she's like master meal prepper, planner, cook. So she's always a wealth of knowledge for that. If you have any questions, though, before next week about any kind of meal prepping strategies that you might be trying already, of course, just ask them on the page. I love seeing everybody's, the people that are posting their ideas of the meals that they're eating. I encourage everybody to do that. Post your meals. I don't care if they look spectacular. I don't care if they're on a paper plate. I post on paper plates all the time, so don't hate the paper plate. Post them. Give everybody ideas. I know that I need some inspiration myself. And if you're not following our social media regularly, make sure you keep checking it out, because we're going to be sharing, we share meals all the time, new recipes, that type of stuff. I have a few new recipes that are in the works. I got to test them out. Haven't taken pictures of them yet, but I'll be sharing them soon. Just make sure that you check it out on our social media pages, Instagram and Facebook. But other than that, I'll leave it there. And if y'all have any questions, y'all just let us know. And we'll see y'all next week for week 3. Bye-bye.